back to my channel and welcome to my first reading vlog on this channel. In October I was reading a lot of like spooky fall themed kind of books, and then in December I'm gonna be reading like a bunch of like holiday themed books. So like I just need to really just do some mood reading. I'm just really in the mood to just go through my TBR. I have my TBR cart here that we're just gonna be reading through, especially because I'm really trying to get through these books before I start buying a bunch of new ones. So let's go over to my little cart. So honestly, there isn't that much on here. I've done such a good job recently trying to strictly stick to these books. I only have 9 books on my physical TBR. Like, that's really good. Like, can we take a second to just, I'm just really proud of myself, honestly. So for the first book, I'm really just feeling like a romance. I've been, like I said, in October I was reading lots of like spooky, like kind of like autumnal kind of books. So I really just want like a light-hearted kind of romance. I haven't read one like that in a while, and I literally only have 2 to pick from. So we have Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood and The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and I've really been wanting to get to this for such a long time, so freaking long, and I've heard that this is like so good. I've heard such good things about this. I think I want to start with this one. So first book of this mood reading vlog is going to be The 7-Year Slip. Okay, so I am on page 254, so I have about this much left, so I'm definitely gonna finish it today, but I'm pretty much enjoying it so far. It's not really living up to the hype that I thought it was going to, because everyone talks so highly and it's really good. It's just not giving like 5 stars or anything for me. But I also started listening to The Final Gambit as an audiobook like a couple days ago, because I was never going to finish that series by just reading it, because I've kind of just figured out that series is just not really for me, just sitting there and reading it. But I like listening to it as an audiobook, so I have both of these going on right now. Okay, so as you saw, I finished The 7-Year Slip. So basically this is following Clementine, who has to move into her aunt's apartment because her aunt just passed away. The apartment, 1 second it'll be set in real time, and then she'll leave and come back and it'll slip 7 years in the past. She like wakes up one morning to this guy waking her up in her apartment because he's from 7 years in the past, and so then they start falling for each other and stuff, and then she gets sent back to the present, and then like she meets him in her real time. So now it's like 7 years after they like originally met, but like for him it's still like, the reason why I was like so just like hesitant to it like when we last talked about it, it's because like for one, I have never read anything where it's like so like real, like there's the whole like realistic life going on, but then there's like a small hint of like the magical element to it. I was just trying to get used to that whole thing. Plus like I just feel like within like the first time that she like was brought to 7 years in the past, I just felt like they were like falling for each other like way too quickly. Like didn't really make sense. Like they were just developing feelings like that, and I'm like, you literally don't even know each other. Like, but once I got past all that, and like once I just like kept reading, it just got so good. I totally understand the hype now. And chapter 38, I started crying. Literally, like I just couldn't hold it in. Chapter 38 got me. If you've read this book, you know, chapter 38. So honestly, I like could not put this down. I just read it. I like basically binged this whole book in like a couple days. Such good writing. I really like her writing, and I do like the little magical element. I feel like I'm gonna settle on like a 4.5 stars for this. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling, but it was so good, and I completely understand how this got so much hype, and I would definitely recommend this. So now I can add this down to all the books that I've read so far in November, and now we can pick the next book that we're going to read. So like I said, I started listening to The Final Gambit on audiobook, and I'm still like, I don't know, halfway through, I think. Yeah, I'm on chapter 44, so that's like this far into it. It looks about halfway right now. But now we need to pick the next book that we're actually going to physically read. I'm leaning towards either one of these, which are like historical fiction books, or Salem's Lot by Stephen King. This one just became available through Libby. I wanted to check it out on Libby so that I could read it on my Kindle. Even though it's like kind of like giving like spooky season vibes, I'm like really feeling like the coziness. My dad has read this like twice and he just says that it's like so cozy. So I think we're gonna go with Salem's Lot. Okay, reading update. I am now 50% through Salem's Lot. I am on chapter 10, but it's really starting to get scary now. So like the first like I'd say 250 pages kind of, I was like really liking the story. Stephen King has such a way of writing where you're just like, you're really intrigued from the beginning. But I was like a little confused with different characters because there's a Mike, a Matt, and a Mark. I didn't know who was who. I was so confused, but then once I figured that out, I was like really into the story. And now it's like we're at the point where stuff is starting to really happen and I'm getting a little scared. I'm a little sick right now, so I'm not like reaching for this right now. I don't really want to read right now, but like at the same time I do. I just don't feel like doing anything actually. So I'm gonna force myself to start reading and then I know that I'll enjoy it. Okay, so I'm even more sick than the last time we talked. I actually have a sinus infection, hence the humidifier. I'm trying to get rid of all of this. So basically, I didn't even talk about Salem's Lot very much yet because my mind has been so just not here most of the time I've been reading it. But basically, it's following this writer who goes to Salem's Lot, this small town, and there's this super creepy house where like a suicide slash murder happened there like years and years ago that like everyone knows is like this creepy house, whatever. And then someone buys the super creepy house and then that's when it starts to become like a vampire sort of thing. But like people start dying, people start disappearing, people start appearing in people's windows at night. I've literally been so scared at night because I'm scared to go into dark rooms by myself. I'm scared to literally do anything near a window at night. Like I'm actually scared. But one of the main characters, obviously not going to say who because I don't want to give any spoilers, something happened to a main character that I didn't think was gonna happen because they're a main character, and now I'm just like, what? Like I'm just so unexpected. But so I get to the chapter that I'm on now and this shows up at the bottom of my Kindle. 4 hours and 3 minutes left of chapter. This chapter is almost the entirety of the rest of the book. Short chapters are the best things to exist for readers. I don't want a 4-hour chapter. Like, come on. I'm 78% through, and so the main characters are now going into the scary vampire house thing. Sorry. So this morning I finished reading Salem's Lot by Stephen King and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I love Stephen King's writing so much. I just think I will always enjoy every book that he writes. I will say it definitely met my expectations scariness wise. I was looking for something scary when I bought this because I was wanting another Shining sort of book, and it definitely fulfilled that need for me, even though I loved it. And I will always recommend this. I think I'm gonna settle on like a 4.25 stars for this. I just love his other books that I've read so much better than this one. I think that this is such a good vampire story, definitely the best that I've read. There were way too many characters for me. I was getting like a little confused, and it just seemed like some of it was a little unnecessary, but then again, I do understand because it took place in a small town where this whole vampire tragedy was happening to the small town. So I do understand, but it just got a little bit confusing for me at times. But overall, this was really, really good, and I'm so happy that my dad convinced me to read this. But I also need to talk about the final gambit because I really didn't talk about this book at all, besides I told you guys that I was reading it or listening to it. So a couple months ago, I started the Inheritance Game series. It's a young adult story, but she randomly gets chosen by this old man in his will to inherit all of his money, and he's like a billionaire, and she's like so confused. And so like the whole first book is her trying to figure out why she was chosen. And of course, he has 4 grandsons and like a big family who wasn't left his inheritance, and they're all like confused and they're like mad at first and stuff like that. So you're just following that, and then it's all just like a bunch of puzzles and stuff like that. And I just feel like the 3 books, they're just so repetitive, and even though they're following like different puzzles and stuff like that, I just felt like it was just like basically the same story over and over again. So I had to listen to this one, and overall I give the whole series like 3 stars just because I like the idea of it, and I would definitely recommend it to someone. Just personally, it's not my thing. And then going back to the 7-Year Slip, which I read at the beginning of this video, I am holding firm on the 4.5 stars. I think that this is such a beautiful like life story sort of book, but I did find myself like more invested in the like niece aunt relationship rather than like the actual relationship in this book. I don't know, just parts of this I didn't like too much because it was following like the characters in the 7 years ago timeline and then the present timeline, which would be his 7 years in the future but her present, and he was a lot different, and it was just like following 2 different kind of storylines. So it was just a little hard for me to follow at some points, but it was really good, and I completely understand the hype for this. I would definitely recommend. So with that being said, these are the 3 books that I read for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my first reading vlog on this channel, and I will see you guys so soon. Bye!